So in my last video I talked about my time in Knights of Sokan. Reflecting back at it now, it actually wasn't that bad. It was probably one of the better guilds I joined, and it was actually the first guild that I joined on a US server. So my impressions were pretty good. Now after I'd left, my subscription kinda ran out, and bear in mind the PS4 was just still coming out. I think I acquired one of those and was playing that for a couple months until I finally made my way back to SWTOR. When I made my way back to SWTOR, I joined a guild called Systems Commonwealth, which I did talk about in my last video, but I said I'd go into it later on, and well, now is later on, so here we are. This is going to be fun. So after I come back to the game, I joined Systems Commonwealth. My first impressions were mixed, to be fair. It was definitely a downgrade from Sokan, and that wasn't just from the raiding and stuff, it was more to do with the community. It was just kind of a downgrade. In terms of, I was around a lot more minors. There was a lot of kids in the TeamSpeak, because that TeamSpeak was used to host a gaming community, because the GM, Nick, was not only the GM of Systems Commonwealth on Star Wars The Old Republic, but also World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, and a bunch of other games. I think DC Universe Online was one of those, I believe. But yeah, so there was a pretty big community, and there was a lot of fucking characters. Ghost and Spyro were these, I think this guy was about 21, 22, could have been 24, and he was always hanging around with this 15-year-old from Canada who was called Spyro. Spyro and Ghost had a weird relationship, kind of like you know those online relationships. I think it was definitely illegal. I know he was from Philly and she was from somewhere in Canada. I don't know, it was just something weird. And you know, later on down the line I found out that, you know, she was kind of outcast in real life. You know, she didn't have the best upbringing. I think playing MMOs was just kind of her coping mechanism. But yeah, this Ghost guy used to hang out with her all the time. And later on I found out they were actually ERPing, and they were, I don't know, kind of in love, I guess. Which is kind of weird when a 24-year-old and a 15-year-old do. But you know what, hey, I personally, although I could feel it, the vibe was there, I didn't see them do anything that I would consider necessarily disturbing or illegal, so I can't say nothing to that. But the rumors did go around, from a few people. I know one of the officers who I still talk to every now and then on Facebook, Blaze, he told me, I think Nick told me eventually as well when me and him made up one time. But yeah, that was Ghost and Spyro. And then of course, how can I forget Aggie? Now Aggie was a very special case, because Aggie was she had Downs, she was Down syndrome, but she was kind of annoying. She was from Texas. I think a lot of people gave her leeway just because she was Down syndrome, but it still didn't justify how annoying this girl was. And some of the shit she'd come out with, I remember she'd come out with a mayonnaise on dick joke, which was just like, what the fuck? I think that really creeped everyone out. I think a lot of people told her like she's just too much. Like she would just kind of randomly join your TeamSpeak room and just start talking about stuff, and we're trying to do stuff, and it was very difficult to try and tell her nicely to go away. It was one of those things where it was very hard to kind of work around her, because a lot of people gave her a pass because of her obviously her special needs and her disability, but she definitely exploited it. I don't really care what anyone says. It was definitely something which I was just like, no, just fuck this, never. She actually did end up joining 2 other guilds I was a part of after Systems, which was just crazy. We'll get into those stories though later. So yeah, those were the 3 I met, and then there was just a lot of officers, a lot of other people who were there, and the guy who brought me in, his name was G3. He was a nice guy, really nice guy. He helped me out with raids and stuff, and I could actually feel I was actually becoming a better player in game because of him. You know, I was playing the Guardian tank. He was a shadow tank, but he still was able to help me in a way which helped me, you know, perfect my skills and rotations and whatever. So, you know, I was having fun. There was a reason for me to be in the guild. He did kind of warn me that Ghost and Spyro are one of those people who say, yeah, they'll come along and do stuff, and then they never do. I remember a couple times there was instances where they would come along to raids and stuff with me, and then they would just completely ghost out in the middle of everything, just without saying a word, which got annoying. But then you just know you don't play with them again. I think that was kind of it. But it was a regular thing, which I'd experienced with people from Systems Commonwealth who would do that in pug runs and stuff, where a few of them would join, and then they would just randomly leave without saying anything, and that got repetitive and relatively annoying. It was no fun. But I guess the story kind of goes in a direction where I think I was there for a week, and there was just a lot of stuff there, like I said, the Aggie constantly nagging, and then just a lot of weird stuff. I remember there was another guy who had Asperger's, and he was just talking about porn all the time and CP, and it was strange. It was just like, what the fuck, you know, just what the hell. I think it kind of freaked me out a bit, to the point where I did consider leaving, and I spoke to Nick about it, and Nick was a nice guy-ish. He was friendly at first when I first met him, and he just said to me, hey man, look, don't do that. You don't have to leave because of them. You know, I'll have a talk with them, and, you know, hopefully you can, you know, change your mind. So I was like, okay, you know what, cool, I'll stay. So I stayed, and I remember I was pugging one day. I was pugging an operations run. Pugging means you're looking for randoms to do a raid. So I was looking for a bunch of randoms to do a raid one day, and Nick was very nice in terms of he let me, Nick and G3 were very nice. They would let me use the TeamSpeak rooms. They would let me invite random people onto the TeamSpeak, say if I was doing a raid with them. They would let me do that, and that was cool. So I remember I tried to invite these guys from a guild called Deus Ex Machina onto the TeamSpeak, and they said, oh, we can't join because we're all banned. And I'm like, oh really? Why is that? Like, I was curious. I was instantly curious of why a whole guild was banned. So they gave me their Discord TeamSpeak information, and I joined their TeamSpeak. So I've joined their TeamSpeak now. Everything's going okay. They tell me, they're like, yeah, we are a fraction of Systems Commonwealth that's split off into another guild. Now this is one thing you would kind of notice, especially with guilds. I think this is with any MMO, is whenever there's a falling out with an officer, because the GM, his name was Aiden's was an officer in Systems, and you'll notice this with a lot of guilds. It's kind of natural, where if there's ever a drama or like an outburst or a splinter, it's usually an officer that goes away and forms his own guild and takes a handful of people with him. It's just kind of the way it works, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. So, you know, these guys are a bunch of cool guys. You know, I meet all these guys on the TeamSpeak, and we're all shooting the shit, we're having fun, and we're getting content done, which was my main objective. And I really wasn't getting much content done when I was in Systems, because a lot of them didn't really know what they were doing. I think there was only a few of them who did, and the ones that did would usually go off and raid with other guilds behind Nick's back, because I guess they felt like they were wasting their time with systems, you know, when you had people like Spyro and so on and so forth, who were just not even casual. They were just, I don't know, they were just there to just be there, I guess. But one day I remember asking Nick. Now Nick used to do this thing where he would drag everyone into his office, which was his room on TeamSpeak. It was called Nick's office. He dragged all of us in one day and gave us a whole lecture on something. I can't remember what, but it was funny. But I remember asking him once, I said to him, hey man, I was playing with these guys, Aiden's and a bunch of other guys from a guild called Deus Ex Machina, and he just let out a big sigh and told me something along the lines of, he didn't tell me exactly what happened, because I like to hear both sides of the story. So he told me something about, I don't know, just that they've got bad blood with systems, and that I should stay away from them. So I was like, okay, you know, I didn't say nothing else to him. I just said, alright, cool, whatever, that's fine. And I think a lot of the officers in Systems kind of knew that I was hanging out with Deus Ex quite a lot, and in their TeamSpeak. So it was one of those things where Aiden's didn't honestly have any bad blood with Nick. In fact, he wanted to be on good terms with Systems Commonwealth. Eventually they did make up, but it took a long time. But it was just one of those things where it was like, okay, you guys have bad blood. And that was a regular occurrence on the server, I noticed, where a lot of guilds treated the game like politics, where, you know, this guild is this guild's ally, and this guild is this guild's ally, and we've got bad blood with this guild, we've got history with this guild, and it kind of made the game no fun, because at the end of the day, it's just a fucking game, you know, this isn't real life, and they were treating it as if it was their real life. Bear in mind, Nick didn't really have a full-time job. I think he collected disabled benefits, and he stayed at home on government funding. I think he had something wrong with him, like mental health problems or something. I'm not too sure, and you know, I never really asked him because it was a bit of a personal question. But the point is, this guy had a lot of free time on his hands to do whatever the fuck he wanted to, which was very unsurprising for what I'm gonna say next. I think one day I was doing a raid or something with Aiden's and stuff, and I don't know, I think I must have been seen, or someone must have, systems officers kind of had a reputation for that, where they were very sly with you. They would be nice to your face and then go report everything to Nick when your back was turned. I recall what happened. It was we were doing a raid, me and Deus Ex, and I remember getting told that hey, I get a message from Nick being like, hey, are you raiding with Deus Ex? I was like, yeah. He's like, right, why are you raiding with them? I want you to come off of their TeamSpeak right now. And I'm just like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, like, I told you not to hang out with those guys. And I just kind of turned around to him and I was just like, dude, like, they honestly don't have a problem with the fact that I'm in Systems, and they have no problem playing with me, because they had no problem in playing with me. But for some reason, Nick had a problem with them. So you kind of realize that they had a problem with Deus Ex. Deus Ex didn't really care enough to retaliate, because they were just playing a game. So he told me to come off their TeamSpeak, and I said to him, alright man, I'm going to be honest with you, you don't pay my subscription fee, and you're not my parent, so you can't tell me what to do. Oh, but I'm your guild master. I was like, yeah dude, but again, like I said, you don't pay my subscription or nothing, you don't pay me to play the game, so like, I can do as I bloody well please. Basically, I just told him, it's my God-given right to, you know, hang out with whoever the hell I want. you know? And it's just a game at the end of the day. So he said, alright, cool, I can't tell you what to do, but I can kick you from the guild. So he kicks me from the guild now. So that ended pretty bad. And then he made up these allegations against me, telling me about how I was feeding Deus Ex confidential information about Systems, and I was a spy sent over to Systems from Deus Ex. And it's like, no, I wasn't. I came from Knights of Sokan. I'm friendly with Deus Ex, and I wouldn't even have no confidential information to give these guys, to be honest with you. Even if I wanted to, what do I know? I was a newbie in the guild. Okay, I had nothing. There was nothing I knew. So when this guy just started doing these outlandish and absurd allegations, it was just like, yeah, dude, whatever, cool. It was his way or the highway, basically. He was one of those guys where it's like, if you're not with me, you're my enemy. And I don't know, it was just really weird. It was really strange. And after that, I think I must have bounced around a few guilds until I finally went back to Knights of Sokan. Now, while I was in Knights of Sokan, I think this guy had Nick had a interaction with Kaz. Kaz was the GM of Knights of Sokan. And then I think one day he tried to recruit an officer from Knights of Sokan into his guild and said, oh, don't join Knights of Sokan, they're a bunch of assholes, rada-da-da-da-da. So one of the officers at the time, his name was Zen. Zen was like a very, he was a black guy in the army, so he gave zero shits. Okay, he would say whatever the fuck he wanted to, and he didn't give a fuck. He would literally come in Discord with an open mic blasting rap music, and he didn't give a flying fuck. He's like, bro, this is my TeamSpeak, if you don't like it, get the fuck out. Like, that was him. And that was cool, you know. I liked the guy, you know. I thought the guy was awesome, you know. He's actually one of the few guys I actually had respect for. Like, I had respect for a lot of people, especially in Sokan, but he was one of those guys where, like, I knew not to mess with him, because this guy wouldn't take it lying down, you know what I mean? But yeah, so he goes in there and he, you know, confronts him and calls him out on this shit, and I don't know what happened, but all I remember was because he was telling us all about this, and then he said, oh yeah, by the way, he mentioned your name. So he mentioned my name, and he's like, I was like, oh, what did he say? He goes, oh, he said you're bad news and whatever. He goes, all this, all that, all of the above. And I was like, yeah, right. I said, do you want to know what happened? And he goes, dude, I don't give a fuck what happened. I just don't care. The guy's an idiot. So I was like, alright, cool, whatever. So when I've gone back to Sokan now, we've got a new GM who's in charge. I believe he was the original, or one of the original GMs. His name was Leasu. Really nice guy, until you piss him off. But what happened was, me and Nick had kind of come to I'm not going to say a truce, but we just kind of were like, yeah, cool, dude, like, whatever happened. And I think he invited me onto his TeamSpeak and whatever, and me and him started chatting again, everything was fine. And I guess I was kind of pugging from Systems and so on and so forth, because the server I was on, Jungma, it was a very small community, so like you kind of needed all the help you can get from every guild. And you had a few guilds, you had Guardians, Knights of Sokan, Systems, Alpha Company, MEU. There was a few guilds which, you know, few of the guilds, I think you could count them on two hands. So you kind of wanted to be friendly with most of those, so you could get as many people to raid with you as possible. Well, that was my thinking. So, long story short, Nick has turned into a bitch again, and he's decided to start throwing more allegations at me about me coming onto his TeamSpeak and starting trouble and so on and so forth. And for the record, I didn't start any trouble. I was actually banned from his TeamSpeak until he invited me back on. That was kind of the that's kind of the funny part about all of that, is he invited me on to talk to me. And then he goes and does that, which was weird. So I end up getting into trouble with Knights of Sokan. I think they gave me a disciplinary similar to what they did with Malvok, and that kind of pissed me off. And I kind of left after that because I just felt like, hey man, these guys, I'm not going to say they were pissed off with me, they were annoyed with what happened. And it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I don't think it's a great idea for me to be here right now. And that was fine. It's just whatever. And I went on my own way. So now I've transferred over to the Harbinger, which then became SWTOR. Systems apparently did scope out the Harbinger, and I think they immediately got kicked off because a lot of the people who came over to Harbinger were from Jungma, or they'd previously been on Jungma. I remember recall specifically seeing a guild called the Refugees from Jungma, and I just joined that. I was like, hey, you guys are from Jungma, what guild were you in? Like, yeah, we're in the guild called Systems. That guy's a fucking asshole, Nick. I remember the GM just despised Nick with a passion. I was like, oh my god, dude, I can tell you a fucking story. And this guy cussed him out, told him he lives in his mom's basement and whatever. And that was the kind of gist of him. He was just one of those neckbeards who lived in his mom's basement and thought he was a dictator. That is Nick in a nutshell. So anyway, Nick's tried to settle on Harbinger, and I guess it didn't work out for him for some reason, and he then went over to the Ebonhawk, which then became the Starforge. Now, SWTOR kind of died off a couple years later, so we're fast forwarding from 2016 to 2019, where I've gone over to Starforge now, because Starforge was the popular server for the US. So I've gone over there now, and I'm looking for a guild, and guess who messages me? Raid from Systems Commonwealth. Raid was Nick's in-game name, and I just went, Nick? And he's like, new phone, who this? So I told him my in-game name. It was Kavar at the time on Jungma. I said, yeah, I'm Kavar from Jungma. And he's like, oh my god, dude, how you been, bro? And he's like, dude, join the Discord, bro. And he sent me a guild invite, and I was just like, I'll entertain this. Maybe he's changing. It's been about 2 years. Maybe something's changed, I don't know. So I've gone on there. He's been like, oh my god, dude, it's good to hear from you, good to see you, whatever, how you been? And you know, we're shooting the shit, we're talking about the good old days. It's like, oh my god, everything's so mellowed now down here, there's no drama in here, which was a lie. But yeah, he was just talking about the old times, like Aggie, Systems, Deus Ex. Like, yeah, we're on good terms now. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. Bear in mind, I hadn't spoken to Deus Ex since 2015, so 4 years. So yeah, I guess they've had 4 years to make up, you know. And this was the first time I was friendly with Nick from the end of 2014, so we're going mid-2019. Speaking to him again. So everything was alright, you know. We all were all shooting the shit. There was like maybe one person from the old days who I recognized, who was still there, and he was like an officer now or something. So yeah, we were all just, you know, vibing. And then I think we started raiding together. Now this is where things went downhill from there. Was Nick's always had a certain really, really stupid way of he makes up his own mechanics, because this guy's so full of himself. So he's got these mechanics he's made up which don't necessarily work, you know. And I'm trying to tell him he's doing shit wrong in the nicest way possible. I mean, this is the type of guy that would stack endurance over mitigation. Basically, his character was a tank who had no mitigation, so he would go down so easily. He needed a dedicated healer because he would stack health, because he thought health was more important than increasing your shield's defense chance and your absorption rate, which you got to balance them all out when you're playing Star Wars, and he didn't know how to do that. So I try to tell this guy, you know, what he's doing isn't necessarily right. You know, you try and do it in the most politest way possible, but he's too arrogant to kind of understand. So instead I decide to raid with, I think we were all raiding without him one day, because he wasn't a part of our raid team. So I just kind of assumed lead and showed everyone how to do shit properly. And when they asked why we're not doing things the way Nick instructed them to, I said because he's wrong. And I didn't mean that in a disrespectful way. I wasn't being rude. It was wrong. It was wrong. You can't come at me and tell me how to do something when you don't know how to do it yourself. When you're doing things wrong, it's just wrong. I'm showing you how to do things the right way, or the easiest way. And I think we cleared a lot more stuff when I was calling the shots. Eventually he finds out about this stuff and kicks me from guild, and he doesn't even go into an argument with me. I just wake up one day and I'm kicked out. And that was kind of the end of that, you know. We were on good terms. But again, I think he hasn't really changed much. He still likes to be a dictator. It's just this time he's learned to not fight with people. He's just gone straight to the kick button, which I guess it is what it is at the end of the day, you know. But yeah, you know, a lot of things I learned from Systems Commonwealth was definitely, it showed me the ugly side to what Star Wars: The Old Republic was. Like, it definitely was. Everything was just really, really ugly. There was just a lot of unnecessary bullshit, which just made the game no fun to play. And you know, there was a lot of people who ended up leaving. I know G3, who originally recruited me into Systems, him and some other guy went over to the guild called the Guardians, because I did go over there and join them for a while. And that was okay. It was good fun in there. It's just I found the rules pretty strict with what the guild wanted, so it kind of wasn't for me. I wasn't interested in investing the time that the guild required from me, so yeah, that was how that worked out. But it was a fun time, you know. I had no ill will against the Guardians, but like I said, I think one thing I've taken away from Nick is probably one of the worst people I've ever met on an MMO. In fact, I think he is the worst person I've ever met on an MMO. He's just egotistical. He's just a very bad person, you know. He's just not a great guy, man. He's just not a great guy to be around. He's toxic in a non-toxic way, meaning he's very passive aggressive. So you won't really see it coming. And he's probably still around. It wouldn't surprise me if he's still around. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up seeing this video. And he's gonna see this video, but I can be honest with you, man. There is nothing I've said in this video which is a lie. This is the God's honest truth. So I've really got nothing to worry about. You know, it's not like he can sue me or anything. But yeah, he was just, I don't know, man. He's just that neckbeard. I think every MMO has one of those GMs who are just crazy. They let the power get to their head. And you know, I did encounter someone else who was like that, which I will be saving for another video. But I think Nick's definitely left a very longing impression on me. You know, it was a very big impact on me, because even when I was playing WoW, I never really got into that serious of a guild, to be honest with you. But then people on the European servers play games differently compared to people on the US servers. The US servers, they take stuff too seriously, they turn it into politics with guilds, and they still, I'm not going to say they still suck, because you know, you do get a lot of good players on there, but they're not as good as the European players, I've noticed. So yeah, that was kind of that really. It was just one of those things where I guess Nick will always be Nick. People don't change, and he's just, I don't know, he's just not a good person, and I don't want to spend like half an hour, running his name through the mud. But it's true, man. This guy's a bit of a nutcase. I think after that is when I kind of quit the game for good. I did join another guild after that, and things there were fine for the most part. But I guess it kind of took a lot out of me in terms of, did I want to play this game anymore? And the answer was no. People like Nick just kind of, hammered another nail into my coffin, It wasn't the straw that broke the back, but it definitely helped, Just people like that were just really, really unbearable to be around. People that would chase you from guild to guild and try and chase you from server to server to find out who you are so they can, try and run your name through the dirt. And he did do that. He used to do that to a lot of people. He tried to do that to me with Knights of Sokan. He's jumped to servers to try and mess with people as well. And that's just the type of guy he is. He's got no job. He's got all the time in the world on his hands, and that's what he did. And that's just the way he's gonna be. So yeah, that was my time in Knights of Sokan. Comment below if you've been in the guild. Let me know what your experience was like. What do you think of mine? Comment below, let me know, man. I'll be back.